Welcome into Weekly Champions here on Wrestling Spotlight, joined by Sonny, the Man Eagle Cain, and you can watch us on Carbon TV, on Sports.TV, TV, and True TV Plus, as well as on any TCL TV. If you just hit the plus button on your remote, we're right there. Sonny, it was WrestleDream, and we saw the end of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson's career. Just before we get into breaking down what actually happened with the card, what's your opinion on where Bryan Danielson ranks among the all-time elite in professional wrestling?
My opinion, he's in the top 10. So
I think a lot of people would put him up there because you got to think about it, and we've talked about it a lot, you and I, about that time period in between when the NWA was clipping and it became WCW, and they went at it with the WWF at the time, and then WWF bought it, and there was a dark period for really quite a while. Bryan Danielson was one of the guys who was instrumental in bringing wrestling back besides the WWE universe with the run he had in Ring of Honor. That's why I was pretty convinced that this was going to be the end, because he had that matchup with Nigel McGuinness, which was a throwback to some of the battles they had for the Ring of Honor championship. And that run of Ring of Honor, that was really the alternative to what you were getting in the WWE at the time, which was a little bit more, PG-ish, kind of sanitized. You weren't seeing the real hard-hitting wrestling. You weren't getting the Japanese strong style. You weren't getting the intense fights. And Bryan was a key factor in bringing that Japanese style over, thus the American Dragon name.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. He began making a name for himself, and at first I thought, who is this? And I began reading about him and hearing about him more and more, even on the circuits. And I finally got to start watching him. So, man's been around a good long time.
Yeah, and at the time, it was hard to watch Ring of Honor. It was really kind of an underground promotion, and then kind of got its legs, and really is super influential, because you see wrestlers that were big players in Ring of Honor in every promotion. I mean, here in the WWE now, Seth freaking Rollins was Tyler Black in Ring of Honor. Cody Rhodes was the NWA heavyweight champion of the world, and he did it in Ring of Honor rings after he left WWE as Stardust and became the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. That started in Ring of Honor. And then obviously AEW, I mean, there's not an AEW without Tony Khan. There's not an AEW without Chris Jericho. And there's not an AEW without Ring of Honor, because that's where the elite came from. Cody, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, and Hangman. They can track their wrestling lineage, their wrestling tree, right back to those matches that Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness had 20 some years ago in Ring of Honor. It's all interconnected.
Right. And the ones that were strong enough to survive are the ones that are still doing it in AEW. So you got about a half dozen guys that came from that era over to the AEW, and now they're still going. And add in Mark Briscoe. I mean, Mark Briscoe's there making some noise too. So.
And it's great that Mark Briscoe's getting the chance to shine on a big platform on national TV, because man, he was him and Jay, they were Ring of Honor stalwarts. They stayed in Ring of Honor when everybody left, and they were they were really pillars of that company. And man, you go back and watch some of those tag matches with the Briscoes. Those were crazy intense matches. And you see Mark Briscoe still bring that energy and that kind of manic character to the ring now, which I think is great because he's so different. You can just feel an authenticity when he's out there.
And how he's been able to continue on as quickly as he returned without Jay behind him, that's been
Yeah.
inspiring. I mean,
Oh,
he took a
absolutely.
match about a week or so after Jay passed, did really well, and took a little break. I don't know if he's had a child or not, but I saw a picture of him on Twitter holding a child and
Hmm.
a baby, and then he went right back into it and continued climbing again. So
Yeah.
the man's got heart.
Yeah. And Sussex County Chicken, that is real. I mean, that's actually their business. He has an
Right.
organic chicken farm too. So I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, it's not a gimmick. It's not a joke. He actually has that business. Um,
that
yeah. Hey, talking about Ring of Honor, I got the picture up behind me. It was the return to the ring of Adam Cole, baby. Not in a match yet, but in the ring doing honestly what made Adam Cole an international superstar, talking. And I'm sure the matches are coming up because he says it, but it is true. He is one of the best pro wrestlers in the world. Hopefully, he has a run of good health because the concussion and then the freak broken ankle, it's been a hard run for Adam Cole, and he was rolling and had some great matches going for the championship against MJF, and it may well have been the best developed story of the last couple of years with AEW, and unfortunately the injuries came in and kind of derailed it. But I think it's good that it's getting back up and running, and we're going to have that inevitable matchup with Adam Cole, baby, and MJF, and I think they have
oh
it.
yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, they got dealt a bad card, right? Because obviously it's not the way they wanted to do it, but I think they're going at it the right way. And sometimes, hey, things change. You gotta make it go, and you gotta move on the fly and make things work. And the reality is the people want to cheer for Adam Cole. Even when he is playing the heel,
I think
Adam
so.
Cole comes out to boom, everybody's cheering. And when he yells, "Hey, who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby?" Everybody responds to it. So people want to cheer Adam Cole. So it makes sense. He's the face, MJF's the heel because that's naturally what he is, right? And
Right.
I think you'll have some great matches coming out of it.
I think so. And that's when the rivalries begin and people start working together more. I like seeing the continuance of a rivalry. It just
Hmm.
brings out the or word that we use all the time here on the show, the athleticism involved between the two
Oh yeah,
combatants, um, and you get to see more of it. Ric Flair, Rick Steamboat, same thing. Uh, Rick Steamboat, Jay Youngblood, Sergeant Slaughter, and his crew, the same deal.
sure.
The more you saw it over and over again, it just got better.
Yeah,
In today's
Tully and
world,
Magnum TA.
In today's world, I think it's going to be party time and the Young Bucks. I think they're just going to keep
Yeah,
going
private
until they
party.
just get awesome or private party. And
Yeah.
I've been watching them a minute, and I'm really impressed with them. I think they've got it all going.
Well, let's talk about that. That was the tag team championship, the EVPs, the Bucks, and Private Party. The Bucks hold on, and then Private Party last night confronted them and said, "Hey, we think we deserve another match." And in true
Yeah, I saw that.
Weaselish heels, they said no. I said no, brother. So little wrestling throwback there. and Stokely Hathaway appeared. So you're getting multiple angles that are developing, right? Because
Right.
Private Party ended up, and we'll get to it a little bit later, but they ended up teamed up with Daniel Garcia. So looks like they're going to be serious and actually go for it, as opposed to, just kind of goofing around and coming in dancing through the security line. Because when they really wrestle, and they've had a bunch of injury problems too, but man, when they go, they can go. And I think they benefited from getting to work with one of your friends for a little while, with Matt Hardy, when Matt
Yes,
Hardy
sir.
was managing Private Party.
Yes, sir. And the Hardy Boys could surely run in the AEW right on. I think it's more their speed. I think it's a better fit almost than where they're at currently. And
Yeah.
time will tell. They say they're going to make another run at the WWE, so we'll see.
Well, there's that relationship between the two companies. Let's bounce back to WrestleDream, another match that was referenced. The Acclaimed beat the former Maxim Male Models, MXM, and we got a little, not a surprise the Acclaimed one, but we got a little bit of a tease that maybe the Hurt business, the Hurt Syndicate, is looking to expand, because MVP went up to both Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, and he's looking to add some members to the Hurt Syndicate. Do you think they break up the Acclaimed, or is this, again, just a little bit of a different attitude maybe coming from the Acclaimed?
I think it's a possibility. I saw the looks that were given, and usually that's kind of how the breakups begin. They start throwing the look around, and the next thing you know, the next week they're broke up, and they're running two different angles. So,
and did you notice Max took MVP's business card?
I did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I had his home phone number on in order to sell. So
sure. Now, the next match was the 8-man match. Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and they teamed up with guys that maybe were running through the mid-south territory of the NWA with you back in the 80s and 90s, the Outrunners.
Yes, sir. And
they took on the premier athletes in the Dark Order.
And there's an athlete who can play both roles. Orange Cassidy. It seems
Absolutely.
No matter how he comes out, the fans cheer for him. And and in this last match, when it looked like maybe he was going to turn, he just got a tremendous pop at that, and I thought, my goodness, he's going to turn baby again. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, Orange Cassidy definitely has a lot of fans behind him. And what do you think of the Outrunners, the youngest men alive? Do you like the throwback that they're trapped in the 80s?
I do. It's different. It's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like the hologram and the way he's playing that role. I'm impressed with them. I think they have sincerity in their attire and their appearance, and that's what I look for in future champions, is how sincere are they at playing their role now. Name that comes to mind in WWE is Brian Pillman playing the Texas King, and people say, well, this guy will never be champion, but you don't know that until you start following week to week and see what they're all about. So. But bouncing back to the 80s tag team, I like them. It's fresh. It's where a lot of people are. Just go to social media and you see 80s stuff there all the time. So
Now,
I think it's neat.
Can you confirm or deny ever being in a 6-man tag team with the Outrunners?
I can deny.
You can deny it. Okay.
I've done some.
I'm not quite sure if they were actively wrestling in the late 80s. We'll have to
I pulled a 6-man tag team, but it was with Mike Youngblood in Mount Olive, North Carolina, my hometown.
Okay.
and that was a pure honor. I just was enamored by Mike. So he was clearly up and coming at that time. So
Well, a guy who made his return match, and definitely not up and coming, but maybe we're going to see a little bit different approach from Switchblade Jay White. They kicked off the show, and he did something that I haven't seen anyone do before. He countered and reversed Hangman's buckshot lariat straight into the Blade Runner
I
and
saw
beat
that. What a
Hangman
move!
Page clean. So maybe we're going to see the Switchblade, a former IWGP Grand Champion. He had all the belts in New Japan, get his run at the top of the card here in AEW, which I think a lot of people have been waiting for.
Yeah, I think so, and I like the Switchblade. Anybody that could do that's got my full respect. If I had had a DVR, I'd replayed it to see exactly how he pulled that off. But anyway,
Yeah, and a good technical wrestler, got that, that New Japan lineage, and I think he's another one of those guys that, while being positioned as a heel, I think the fans actually really want to pull for Jay White, and it breaks up Swerve against Hangman constantly
does
because it
and you
helps.
know they're going to do more of that. So I mean
Yeah,
that's almost a guarantee
yeah.
that
At some point, you can always go back to it, but now you got a little bit of a trios going on between Hangman, Christian Cage. Maybe you can get Nick Wayne in there and Jay White, and then Juice Robinson's there. So as you have the heels in charge of the company, you do need to elevate some people to be on the side of good. And I think the people want to like Jay White and Juice Robinson. Juice Robinson, especially, is just a crazily entertaining individual. I think people want to cheer for him.
I think so. People are in the mood for new talent, and and that's being shown on the pay-per-views when they come out, and they even when they lose, in my opinion, and they get
Yeah.
cheered for. So that's the first time I've ever heard that. But
Well, and it's good to be in that chase position, right? I mean, we've talked about that. It's the best position for the face wrestler to be in is chasing against the heel.
right,
I mean,
absolutely,
that was the vast majority of Dusty Rhodes' career. He very rarely was the champion.
very rarely. I mean, but when he won, boy, he won. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, that
um,
was a big celebration. It was a big deal. Let's go to the
uh,
women's. We'll switch over to the women's match. Mariah May, the Glamour, beats Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, on the just released Pro Wrestling Illustrated Top 250 Women, was ranked number 8. Willow's had a great year and is, talking about here, you got your face wrestlers. She is the natural over face of the women's division. I mean, talk about a wrestler that people want to like and want to cheer for. Willow Nightingale's right there. And she puts in the work in her matches, especially in some of the hardcore matches she's had.
she really does. I'm beginning to become a Widow fan, and I thought there for a minute she was actually going to take the fight. The only thing I didn't like about the match was its placement. I would have had that more toward the last
More
part of
towards
the
the end.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, a second match, and after that, the more women, and I thought, my goodness, it's all men. But
Yeah. I think they really need to get to doing two night pay-per-views, and just because, not that it's not entertaining and not that you can't go back and watch it. You can watch, you get it, you get the replay, so you can go back and watch it. But I think they have so much talent. It would give it some more time to breathe and just profile and get a few more people in we're on Wrestling Spotlight, in the spotlight by breaking it up to 2 nights because, I mean, you really can't jam any more matches in there, and
But yet they do. They have like 4 matches in the warm
in
up
the 0
matches.
hour yeah, yeah,
And you're going, gosh, and then they say, welcome to the show at 8 o'clock. So
uh-huh,
you're like, well, it's starting now. So no more breaks. It's actually starting. But in your words that you've used in the past, it's quite a trot to sit there for
oh,
5
yeah,
hours and
yeah,
try and watch the whole show and take it all in. I actually fell asleep through a fair bit of it. I'd done some work that day, but anyway,
yeah, it's a
I
lot
agree,
easier
I
when
agree
you're
with the
there.
2 night.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
When you're in the arena, it goes quick, because Dynasty was every bit of 5 hours, All In was well over 5 hours, and
Over 5
it just
hours.
didn't seem that long. But o on TV, it does, yeah, it's a long time, and you can see where WWE is going that, "Hey, we'll have 6 matches and 5 or 6 matches." The regular PLEs now are 5 matches, and then the big shows, it's usually 6 matches each night, and that gets you done in about 3 hours and pretty good
That's
pace,
doable.
good long
Yeah.
matches, about half-hour matches each. That's probably the way to go, and it'll be interesting to see if they start segging into that now that they are gonna be doing basically, and especially with the new TV contract and the events being on Max, I think you're gonna see essentially an event every month. So, it'll be interesting to see if these formats stay the same or if they start, breaking them up, or we're doing 2 nights on maybe All In and Full Gear, a couple of the bigger events. It it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the wrestling's great, and, I think there was enough stories and enough matches to definitely do it. It's a long card. The one that I'm referencing behind us here, the TNT Championship, the scapegoat Jack Perry had a good match with the wrestler Shibata, and it served as really the match served as the lead in for Daniel Garcia coming back and confirming that he is staying in AEW, which I think pretty much everyone suspected, especially when he showed up at All In. I didn't think there was any chance that he came back and had a high profile return in London and he was going to leave and go to the WWE. I figured he was staying, but that was confirmed. And then MJF came out, and that led to the return of Adam Cole, baby. So I don't know how much Jack Perry's involved in it, or if it's just going to be Daniel. I guess there's enough space, right? I mean,
Okay.
MJF always wants a belt. He could have the TNT title.
That's true. And the way they're working the TNT title, they're really making that almost like the world television
Yeah,
title
it is
like
essentially
in
the
the
TV
80s.
title. Yeah.
So and I'm thinking this is the TV title. So from
Hmm.
from back in the day, and I like it. It's a break, and they have more believable steps now to get into the world title. You do this, this, and this, and then you fight the world champion, and I like that.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, which I think, we'll get to the world championship. I think that's good to make it an event, especially if you're going to have a pay-per-view or premium live event every month. That's when the world champion should get most of their work in, and otherwise have, promo segments, tag matches, but you're not going to see a whole lot of world championship defenses on regular TV. That's going to be a real special occasion. Maybe Grand Slam at the Arthur Ashe Stadium when they do that annually, or Beach Break, one of their special events that they do on regular TV.
and that's different from my time because in my time, Flair appeared in world title defenses all the time and fought
True.
anybody. jobbers alike. I mean, he'd put the belt up and say, "Let's go," and
Well,
you sort of knew the outcome. But
yeah. Well, what do
yeah,
you prefer? Do you prefer that or the way Roman Reigns was the champion and Roman Reigns only wrestles when it's something special?
I prefer a wrestling champion. I prefer the flair mode of go out there and take on all comers. That's just me. I have come to like Roman Reigns and what he's about now that I've seen so much of him. But it's just a different era, and people are leaning toward where the money's made at, and that's on the pay per views. So,
Yeah.
but I think it takes away from a little of the credibility of the world champion if he's supposed to be the top guy. So,
Okay.
and Flair said it all the time. I'm going to take on these 10 guys, and he named them all.
Yeah. Now, do you
So
think maybe do you like the balance that Cody's striking a little bit better because he is a constant presence on Friday
I
nights?
do, and I'm just a hair bit concerned with Cody and the bloodline involvement. I've had my eye on that from the time it began, and I'm hoping he doesn't turn. But I just want you start seeing the looks and you start seeing the accidents that appear to be happening, and you go, my goodness.
Uh, well, people have been asking for that since he started in AEW. I don't know. I don't think that's coming extremely quickly. Let's get back to WrestleDream. There was a turn that was built up for a while that came in and factored heavily into the match. But Konosuke Takeshita, the Alpha, he does get his big win. We talked about it on the preview that he needed to win because he hadn't really won anything since he beat Kenny Omega. He is aided by Don Callis and the protostar Kyle Fletcher turning on his best friend, his former roommate, Will Ospreay. Nailed Will Ospreay with Don Callis's screwdriver.
Cannot
Takeshita
believe that.
gets the pin.
Could not believe that. I was just again, if I had had the DVR, I would have replayed it to see that stuff. And that all
Yeah.
happened so quick. So
Well, and you got a clash of styles, right? Because Will Ospreay and Ricochet are, they say, probably the best two high flying wrestlers going right now, and can really do any move. Takeshita, an amazing athlete, but much more of a powerful striker. So I think it's a
right.
good combination. And you get another heel champion, and this guy has a stable behind him with Don Callis there to interfere and keep the belt on him, much like he did when Kenny Omega was the AEW and TNA champion.
Yeah, and I think that's going to continue to play out for a little bit. I once they get the pop, they usually stay with the angle that they're working for a minute. So, but it was an impressive night. I just was in awe of the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, and then I think it's good. I think the right guy won because honestly, Will Ospreay and Ricochet don't really need the belt, and Takeshita needed a win, and now he's going to go defend it. The AEW International Championship is going to be defended for the first time by Takeshita, not in AEW, but in Scott D'Amore's new promotion, Maple Leaf Wrestling.
What do you think about that, Mr. Bentley? The belts crossing over the leagues and the alliances, and then them defending it in different areas. Are you for that?
Oh yeah, no, I think it's good because it's the international championship. So go defend it in Canada, maybe defend it at Rev Pro in Britain. You could defend it in New Japan and CMLL. Because they got those partnerships, and I think that's something that if it's not too much, because when you go too heavy in it, unless you're really, really, hell, unless you're somebody that's watching this, you don't know who the wrestlers in CMLL are. You don't know a lot of the wrestlers in New Japan. You sure don't
Right.
know Michael Okua from Rev Pro. But I think it elevates all of those promotions by taking the AEW international title there and builds up that relationship, builds up that community. And from a pure business perspective, it helps AEW. They just got on Fox Sports in Mexico. So working with CMLL, that the home fans are already watching and they see an AEW star, it makes them a lot more likely to watch AEW. And AEW is now going to be the main televised wrestling in Mexico because WWE
Right.
is off of the air. It's only going to be on Netflix in Mexico.
Yes, sir.
So,
And,
yeah,
and
I think it's beneficial in multiple ways.
I'm interested to see how that transitions because of the again back to the numbers and to see if that changes any of the outcome of the numbers. But because
Yeah.
people are so used to getting the WWE and now they're going to have to buy Netflix to get
Oh,
WWE.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of advertising pushing it and probably some promotions. A
So,
guy who's getting plenty of push. You already mentioned him, Hologram. He gets a win in a 2 out of 3 falls matchup against the Beast Mortis, the former Black Taurus from TNA and Impact Wrestling. A good addition, always an impressive athlete, and a Hologram. You know, you got to put him up there with El Hilo del Vikingo, who's on his way back as one of the most impressive luchadors, a guy who just does stuff that, you can't imagine actually physically doing.
yes, sir. And Hologram out a different approach to the masked wrestler too. In the past, masked wrestlers have been the fall guys and the guys that
Mhm.
got beat up a lot. And here you have a hero type masked wrestler coming out, like a Rey Mysterio Jr.
Sure.
type thing
Still
almost.
going at it too, yeah.
And he just goes every week, and I think it is a plus for people who wear masks. The
Oh yeah, heck,
masked men are very hard to fight. So
no, and a dynamic luchador just can really make a difference on the card. I mean, heck, remember Juventud Guerrero? He's still
mhm.
going. He's currently the heavyweight champion in NWA Crossfire. So there's a long running history of high flying luchadors. Juvi's still going. Rey Mysterio Jr. is still going. So Hologram has a lot of room that he can run because those guys have had 20 plus year careers. Darby Allin gets a little bit of revenge against longtime Northwest rival Brody King, picking up the W, and in something maybe to keep a lookout for a while, Brody King, member of the House of Black,
Yes, sir.
turns and shook Darby's hand in respect after the match. Kind of
I was
interesting.
I was impressed by that, and I was impressed to see Darby stand on his own and seemingly coming into his own and showing he could still do it. He reminds me of a Jeff Hardy,
Oh,
a
very much
younger
so.
Jeff
Yeah.
Hardy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's Jeff Hardy again.
Yeah. Complete daredevil personality, willing to do anything. And amazingly, still going. I mean, the guy got hit by a New York City bus and he was back within a month.
Yeah, so
Just
with
crazy.
that kind of ambition.
Mm-hmm. Mark Briscoe retains the Ring of Honor title against Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree.
And I
And
just want to say, I'm
yeah,
for bringing the Ring of Honor title over to the AEW. I don't see why you can't defend the different alliance titles in different alliances. we talked about this on Wrestle Dads, and somebody said that didn't make sense, but it made plenty of sense to me because
Yeah,
that's
same
what
company.
Mark's known for. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then you know what? They've had some great matches in Ring of Honor, and if you want to look at some of the up and coming talent, if you were a fan of AEW Dark or AEW Elevation, you'd want to get Honor Club because a lot of those wrestlers are working Ring of Honor, and a wrestler who really probably had one of the best years of any female wrestler in the world, the fallen goddess Athena, your forever Ring of Honor Women's Champion. She just broke the record for the longest reigning Ring of Honor title. She's had some great matches in ROH, so it's definitely worth investing in. And I think there'll be a Ring of Honor contract coming. It'll be on maybe on Max or on some platform that's going to be more available soon because it's essentially, they don't say it, but essentially it's the developmental brand for AEW. It's their equivalent to NXT. I think you're going to see that on a higher profile, which will be good because it gets more exposure and people can follow the wrestlers. Um, Somebody I want to talk about a little bit later after we get through the WrestleDream lady who had a big match last night on Dynamite, the one and only Queen, Queen Aminata. She's had a great run of Ring of Honor this year as well. Well, we're down to the final match. Bryan Danielson against Jon Moxley came in through the final countdown, and Jon Moxley gets the win in an aggressive, hard driving manner with help from the problem, Marina Shafir, who I think is doing the best job she's done in her AEW tenure. Moxley gets the win, and then even after, still beating down Bryan Danielson. What did you think of the match, and what do you think of the attitude that Jon Moxley's displaying?
I thought it was a great match. But the attitude I don't jive with. You know, he became the champion, and I think he should be the renowned champion, and kind of let it go at that. But it's the new era of wrestling, and the attitude people seem to get the push now.
Well, and let's talk about it a little bit because they beat down Bryan Danielson. Wheeler Yuta turns on him as well. So you have the new generation Blackpool Combat Club, whatever they're going to be called. Pac, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, Moxley, and Maria Shafir. And what Moxley said last night on Dynamite is that people haven't been doing enough and you work for me now, and basically implying that everybody was kind of resting on their laurels a little bit too much and not taking it seriously and not really working. And he's going to motivate them like he did with Private Party, because maybe Private Party had their best match because they got woke up by Moxley and Claudio and Marina beating them down. And then they beat down Top Flight. They beat down Dark Order last night. A great, great message for Moxley saying, hey, it's time to get to work and get serious. Action Andretti ran in with Top Flight and tried to do a backflip forearm to Moxley, and Moxley just stood there and just blasted him with a forearm to the face. Kind of like Indiana Jones when the guy was whipping the swords around and Indiana Jones just pulled out his gun and just shot him. it was that kind of move, right? Because Moxley was just casually, yeah, and it looked great, you know. And I think that move, something that little, kind of displayed the attitude that Moxley's talking about. Like, let's get serious, let's fight. You know, we're not here to do gymnastics; we're here to wrestle.
It seems to be the way things are going. They from alliance to alliance, they formed their little groups,
Yeah.
and I was seeing this coming a couple of weeks back, and I thought, well, are we going to have another NWO type takeover, or what kind of
Mhm.
takeover is it going to be? And to me, it's in that same kind of feel. It's early to see how it's going to play out, but I'm for just getting in the ring and wrestling and having the clean finishes and the you clearly know who the winner is at the
Yeah.
end of it.
Well,
So
you definitely knew who the winner was because Bryan Danielson got carted off on a stretcher.
on the stretcher, and he's been such a champion in it that I wish they had done that a little differently. But that's showbiz, I guess, or wrestling, I guess, at this point in time. And I would have ended it with putting him in a power driver on the table or something like that, and saying that's how he broke his neck or something
Mhm.
along those lines.
That's
But
fair.
that's the one discrepancy I had in it, and people on Wrestle Dads last night were saying, no, 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 the way they did it was the way it should have gone, and I just sat there. I
Well,
said, okay.
I think they got to the ending that they wanted, because now you're still getting the really intense matches, but now you also have, because the main criticism was, hey, there's not a lot of stories behind these matches. Well, now you have multiple stories being created. You got Moxley and Marina and the rest of the BCC kind of running through people. You have the Hurt Syndicate getting going. And let's talk about the debut. Shelton Benjamin, just an incredibly impressive individual. People forget that this guy is a multiple time All American wrestler, an Olympic level wrestler. He was kind of set aside in the WWE. The guy's 49 years old. He looks like he's in his 20s, and just some incredible moves he threw at Leo Rush. Shelton Benjamin's going to get a really good run. And another guy who's in his late 40s but looks like he's in his 20s is coming really soon. The almighty Bobby Lashley is going to be there, and you're going to get the recreation of a story that was dropped by the WWE during the COVID era, and a lot of people have asked for the Hurt Business 2.0. I mean, here it comes. And that gives Swerve somebody to fight against, which is good. You're giving Private Party multiple people to fight against, giving Danny Garcia somebody to fight against, Adam Cole. So I think you're getting the lineup of the heels, the faces, and you're going to have the stories and have the matches, which I think is the perfect balance that people have been asking for.
Well, it's going to be a different angle of things for sure, and
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting run to see what becomes of it. I don't think Tony Khan is bringing in all this talent not to be successful with the
Oh no.
storytelling. So
No. Like we said the last time we talked, with the new TV contract, New Year's Day next year, they become the second most profitable pro wrestling company in the history of the sport.
that's amazing.
Yeah, and they'll make more money next year not selling an additional ticket than they did this year than WCW made in its entire tenure. So,
And that's amazing.
yeah, I wanted to highlight one more matchup. Well, we'll save it for the end. We'll save it for Weightley Champion. Let's say go over just for a couple of minutes as we're coming to the end here and talk about Crown Jewel coming up in just a couple of weeks for the WWE. They seem to be building towards a little bit of a bloodline storyline. I think we're going to see Roman and Jimmy Uso going up against Tama and Tonga, the bloodline currently holding the tag team titles. That's going to be one of the matches, I believe. And then, of course, we got the 2 matches confirmed. There's now going to be a crown jewel champion where the champions from Raw and SmackDown will have a match each year to go for the crown jewel title. So we're going to see a rematch from the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago of Cody and Gunther, both holding championships, and then Liv and Nia Jax. What do you think of that idea of the crown jewel champion?
I think it's a good idea. I don't want to see so many titles formed that it takes away from the true world heavyweight title.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be defended.
It's great to have your new things come out, but are they going to defend it? Is it going to be a once a year thing?
I think it's a once a year deal. I don't think it's getting defended. It's going to be kind of bragging rights. Yeah.
Yeah, and Cody has his heart set on stuff, so he really wants to win some more W's in WWE from hearing him talk. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of the ground and what happens. I may even end up watching that. So
yeah, well, it's always an intense crowd because they took a lot of criticism for the Saudi Arabian shows, but honestly, they are pretty good. They have been pretty good shows. I mean, Logan Paul got the chance to have his match against Roman Reigns and really elevated himself with that matchup he had against Roman for the title a couple of years ago. So there's been some eventful matches in Crown Jewel, and it's interesting. I mean, it's a different approach. I mean, it kind of seems like it's going to be more along the line of MLW's Opera Cup or AEW's Owen Hart Classic, where there's a championship, but it's that day and that's it. So it's not going to be a defended title. I'm sure it'll be bragging rights, kind of like the King of the Ring, And I mean, if Gunther wins it, I'm sure he'll be talking about it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure. And I said I think Cody should win the Rumble again. So, but we'll see.
What do you think about Roman and Jimmy Uso maybe becoming the WWE Tag Team Champions?
I think that would be an interesting matchup. It always interests me as to how they line people up to work together. And my question is, can they trust each other at this point in time? And that's my thing with Roman Reigns and Cody. How much trust can they form along the way and actually bury the hatchet? So,
well, that's a ongoing thread in WWE, right? Can they coexist?
That's it. And that's the $1 million question: who can coexist with who?
And then, of course, the underlying story that I think we'll hear more of is the Kevin Owens, the inevitable turn of Kevin Owens on Cody, right?
Yes, sir.
Because that looks like that's coming.
And I've been watching it more week to week here at the house, and then the pay-per-views too, and it's just all interesting to me again. So I see what the fans seeing at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and I wanted to ask you about one other thing because it's a little bit. We're going to go to a matchup, a card that we're sponsoring with Wrestling Spotlight coming up in Kansas City. It's Fountain City Pro Wrestling, Wayward Son. You can see that on the channel here. And Fountain City Pro is going to crown their first champion when Camaro Jackson takes on All Steel Jay Fowler, accompanied by Captain Midnight Guthrie. You see Camaro staring down Jay Fowler there and Wrestling Spotlight on the Tron. that's coming up tomorrow right here in Kansas City at the Ball Event
Oh,
Center at the Olathe Medical Campus. We're going to sponsor, our channel is sponsoring SK Bishop of the Premier going up against Stormy Renee of Only Friends. So got a couple of matches that we're, paying particular attention to. But I wanted to play a clip from Spotlight's look at Camaro Jackson talking about the fan experience when you go into independent wrestling. I just wanted to run it by us since we have a couple of minutes. Here it
yes,
is.
sir.
Like, I think for me, I think it's like that intimate and like that personable setting. Like with TV wrestling, you're not able to really interact with the wrestlers the way you want to on a personal level because it's
Mhm.
chaotic. Like so many people, security everywhere. You can't walk up to Cody Rhodes like, "Hey man, I love you." You know what I'm saying? Like, you could at one point when he's on the Independence, but like,
Yeah.
it's totally a different beast. But I think that with the Independence, you're able to have those like intimate moments with others. Like I'm able to sit at the merch table and have a full blown conversation with someone about their day, like, if it was bad, if it was good, and just from that conversation alone, I may have, made a friend, or
Mhm.
may have felt better about themselves, from what they were prior to our conversation. So I think the difference is just like we're more more closer and more personable. Now, granted, on the TV level, sometimes like the superstars go out their way to be personal, be more intimate, but that's very hard because they're
Sure.
already busy doing a million and one things, and they try their best to cater to those fans. But like I think with us on the independent level, especially in the Midwest, especially in Missouri, especially in St. Louis and Kansas City, with the rich professional wrestling history, we're able to kind of channel that lineage, man. So like for me, it's always it's the intimacy with our fan base. It's that personality, that personable relationship. You know what I'm saying? So like that's how I do it.
What do you think of what Camaro said there?
I think what Camaro said is spot on. Of the independent circuit, you're able to feel the love, and that's kind of what he was getting at. And you're able to connect, whereas in front of a TV, you're not as much, at least not at this time. And the only other way you can connect with the TV stars is to be fortunate enough on X to become a friend of theirs. And John Cena
Mhm.
friended me last week on
Oh, there you go.
X.
Wow.
So, and I thought, yay, finally. I'd been after him a while.
Sure.
So, but yes, sir, it loses the connection in front of the TV. I grew up watching it in person too, and getting to know them personally and making my connections when I was a really young man, almost a child. And that's the way business is done. I'm hoping that in this age of technology that we're all in, that they have an interaction based thing, maybe with the TV, and
Sure.
this is the way you can interact with the stars. I think they would be up for that if something like that came down the line. But
Well,
it is so much different in person.
yeah, I think you get a little bit. I mean, independence and a lot of AEW stars do independent shows still too. So that's
So,
good. And then at the big events, like at WrestleMania, they have WWE World, and they started doing that at SummerSlam. So that's a great atmosphere, and you
I
get to
remember that.
interact with a lot of fans. And then AEW at Wembley had an event the day before at the Box Park, which is the concert venue right there at the Wembley complex, all the shopping and restaurants. And then Box Park is the big indoor concert venue. And they had the opportunity to meet some of the wrestlers. And when I was up there, Aubrey Edwards was there, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Private Party. So it was a good atmosphere. So they are trying to get more of that interaction available. And I know at WrestleMania, like I said, I just got my tickets. Cody is going to be at the tailgate party if you got the priority pass tickets. So they're trying to get involvement, but it's not as easy as it is at the independents where you can go, you can go talk to Stormy Renee.
Right.
And you
And
get the
talk for an
shirt
hour.
directly from her. Yeah. Yeah. So that's neat. I mean, I really appreciate it, Camaro. You can see that interview playing still on Wrestling Spotlight. You can also find the link on X if you go search Wrestling Spotlight. It's going to be right there. And we also talked with Gary J about his 20+ year career in the wrestling world. That just premiered today. Well,
That's
let's go
awesome.
ahead to weekly champion. We'll see who your champion of the week is, Sonny. Coming right up.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ty Valkyrie La Güera Loca, and you are watching Wrestling Spotlight.
I was torn between two.
Got the new Wrestling Spotlight belt. Who gets
That's
it?
cool.
Yeah.
I was torn between two workers this week, and I flipped a coin almost to decide who got it. But
Okay.
I think this week my wrestler of the week is Mercedes Mone. She impressed me on television, and I think she's finally, not that she needs to, but I think she's finally starting to prove to people she can work it by herself and on her own, and defending her titles, and that really impressed me. So,
And
Mercedes
just for the
Mone.
record, we didn't coordinate this at all. We didn't even talk about this match, but I was thinking the same thing. That was the best match that Mercedes has had during her time in AEW. And it takes, right, Sonny? It takes two people to have a great match.
It surely does.
My champion of the week, your one and only Queen Aminata, gets the championship from me. She actually put on her X account today that her father had just passed away, and when she got cleared to wrestle again in December, she had her goals in place and that she's achieving them. And I think we can safely say that her dad was watching, and I'm sure he was proud of all the work she's done, because she's had an amazing year, and she was held up by the trainer from Chicago Style Wrestling when I interviewed them back at the beginning of the year as a person to watch and the best wrestler, her and Sky Blue as being the best products that came out of Chicago Style Wrestling. And she showed it last night. There was a great match in a high profile spot on a big Dynamite. And I think she's really coming up, and AEW easily is in the best position with their women's roster that they've ever been in. So we picked the same match, just the other side, right? You had the CEO Mercedes Mone, and I picked the one and only Queen Aminata. So a couple of weeks from the same match, yeah. And we didn't coordinate it. We didn't talk about it in advance. They just did a really good job. And AEW's women's division has benefited greatly, I think, from the addition of Jen Pepperman, who came over and was a kind of under the radar acquisition from WWE. She's done some great work over there. Well, we'll wrap it up with that. Your champion of the week for me, Queen Aminata, and from Sonny, Mercedes Mone, the CEO. I'm sure we'll see more from both of them. Sonny, where can people follow you throughout the week?
People can follow me throughout the week on Facebook at Sonny Cain at the Man Eagle. They can follow me on X at Sonny Cain at Real Sonny Cain, and they can follow me on YouTube and Spotify.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for stepping in here. Download that True TV Plus app, and you can also visit WrestlingSpotlight.live, and there's a link right to the station there. We'll see you back here in the ring. Stay tuned for more sports and entertainment. For Sonny the Man Eagle Cain, I'm Gerald Bentley. Have a great night.